In this video, I'm talking about this really awesome thing behind me, and that is the FeiyuTech AK4500. It's a really awesome cinematic camera gimbal, so let's get right into the video. Hey, what's up? It's Chris from Brooker Films, and yes, in today's video, we're talking all about the FeiyuTech AK4500, and this is a really awesome camera gimbal from FeiyuTech. Now, a short while ago, I made a video unboxing and showing you how to set up this camera gimbal, and in that video, I promised you that I would make a follow-up video explaining my thoughts and what I like and what I don't like about this camera gimbal. Well, that is what this video is. Okay, so straight up, my general thoughts and impressions of this gimbal is it's really awesome. I'm extremely impressed with what this delivers and how much weight that this thing can take. Now, I want to make sure that I get the facts right here. The gimbal itself is 1.6 kilograms in weight, but it can take a payload of 4.6 kilograms. Now, when I was using this gimbal and playing around with this, I was using a smaller camera, and that is the Canon 5D Mark III with a smaller prime lens attached to the camera, and honestly, this came nowhere near the payload of this gimbal. Now, I'm pretty sure if I set this up correctly, I could probably fly the Sony FS7 with my big lens and monitor on the gimbal, and the motors would be able to take that payload, which is really impressive. That is super impressive, and I don't know any other gimbal that would be able to take that much weight on a handheld system. Now, when I was running around with this gimbal outside, there were a few features that really stood out to me, which I don't think any other gimbals in the market offer. So the first thing that I was really impressed with was just simply how easy it was to use. Once you got the initial balance and setup complete, all you had to do was just turn it on, pick it up, and just start running. And I really love that because it basically means that getting really smooth cinematic shots is really accessible. You don't have to train for months on end with a Steadicam. You just balance this thing up, turn it on, and just run around and get some creative shots. And that's really awesome. What really stood out to me with this gimbal as well is that you didn't need an app to connect to the gimbal. A lot of other gimbals on the market require you to log into an app, connect to Bluetooth, and control all of the settings through the app, which yes, is cool, and this does offer that, but the really cool thing with this is it has a built-in monitor, and you can go through all of the settings that you would need to adjust this thing, and it's great because you don't have to get your phone out whilst you're on set, and that's really awesome because one, you're not juggling between a camera and a phone, but it's also really awesome because if you pull your phone out in front of a client, they're going to think you're on the phone and it looks really unprofessional. Of course, you're not texting, you're not emailing, you're on an app adjusting settings, but instantly pulling your phone out on set is perceived to be unprofessional. So being able to adjust everything on the camera makes it easier for you and it makes it seem more professional. Another thing that I really love about this camera gimbal is the function wheel. The function wheel could be programmed to adjust focus, tilting, panning, or 360-degree rotation. Now, I never used this whilst I was filming. I never used it to adjust the camera mid-shot because I always wanted to keep two hands on the gimbal to keep it nice and steady. But being able to adjust the pan, the tilt, or the roll on the go between shots was really awesome. It meant that I could just get to a comfortable position with the camera and adjust all of the panning, tilting, and rolling settings with the function wheel. It was super handy, and I really appreciated that. This gimbal also apparently boasts 12 hours of battery life. Now, when I was testing it, I was only ever out for a few hours at a time, but not once did I notice that the battery indicator on the screen went down. It was fully charged all of the time that I was using it, which is really awesome. It gives you confidence knowing that you don't have to carry around loads and loads of batteries with you whilst you're filming. You can just charge this up for one day and you're good to go. What I really love about this gimbal is the ease of use of this. It really feels like a filmmaker has made this. It doesn't feel like a company has made this for a filmmaker. It feels like there was a real collaboration going on, and it feels like a filmmaker was listened to and really gave an honest and valued opinion on what works and what doesn't work. And this base plate really works. It works really well because it's like a two-layered base plate. You've got the first base plate, that's the big bottom part of the base plate, which you slide into the gimbal, and you get that perfectly balanced up and stabilized, ready to go. And then you've got the second tier, the one on top, which is the smaller base plate, and it basically means you can take the camera on and off in between takes, and it means you don't have to rebalance the gimbal each time you take it off and put it back on. And I really love that. I know it's only a small thing, but it can really help to save a lot of time when you're on set, and I really do appreciate that. Moving on, I want to talk all about follow focus. Now, typically when I'm filming my music videos, I've used more of a traditional Steadicam setup. And when you're doing this, you have to get all of these extension rods and everything to get a wireless follow focus system on the camera. And this just becomes really expensive, heavy, and complicated. But this gimbal, the AK4500, comes with a follow focus unit with a small bar that can attach to the base plate, and it's really simple to use. When you're operating your camera on a gimbal, it's super important to be able to adjust your focus without having to touch the focus wheel on the camera. And this is because when you're adjusting the camera lens, you're moving the gimbal around, the camera's going to be moving, and your shot's going to look really ugly, and it kind of defeats the point of having it on a smooth gimbal. So having a follow focus unit available with this gimbal really makes this feel like a professional piece of filmmaking equipment. Now, what I really love about this gimbal is all of the smaller things that you would often overlook that really make the difference on something like this. I've had gimbals in the past and they're really awesome when you're using them, but when you're carrying them around, they just wiggle all over the place. But the really awesome thing with this gimbal behind me is it comes with locks for the gimbal. So this basically means that when I'm not using it, all I have to do is activate the locks, and it means no matter what I do with the gimbal or the camera, it's not going to move. And this is really awesome because it means it's not going to wiggle around all over the place and potentially damage the camera. So this is unlocked, and this is what most other gimbals look like when you're not using them in between takes. It's just going to wiggle around all over the place and put the camera at risk. But putting all of these small locks on the camera gimbal basically means that when I'm moving the gimbal around and I'm not using it, it's not going anywhere. The camera is not at risk, and I feel very comfortable walking around with this thing. Now, the AK4500 comes with some really awesome settings in the camera. So one of the awesome settings is portrait mode. So if you're filming a video for Instagram or Instagram TV, for example, then the camera can flip vertically and you can shoot in portrait mode. That's really awesome. Another awesome thing is a 360-degree roll rotation. So all you have to do is select the relevant setting on the monitor and the camera will do a 360-degree rotation. This is awesome because it gives you a really awesome and dynamic looking shot. Of course though, you can't activate this mode when you're upright. You have to lean the gimbal forward in order for it to do this. So I'm in normal mode right now. If I select 360 rotation, the camera's going to go up. I've got to tilt it forward. And if we select any one of these different settings, the camera is just going to spin. It's going to do its thing. And that creates a really awesome looking shot. And then I haven't had a chance to try this one out, but it has a time-lapse feature built in. So essentially you can set a start point, you can select an end point for the gimbal, you can select the time in between each position. And when you press go, the camera will take the amount of time that you selected to get from the starting point to the end point. So this is really awesome because if you want to do some filming of yourself and you don't have somebody else to film for you, you can put the camera on the ground, do a 5-second shot, and the camera will do this panning and tilting motion for you. Or if you wanted to do a time lapse where you've got some movement in there, you just set a longer distance between the starting point and the ending point, set up a time lapse remote to your camera and just let the gimbal do its thing and you will get a really awesome dynamic time lapse. I'm super excited to try that, and once I've figured out how to do that exactly, I'm going to do a thorough video on how to make a moving time-lapse video with this gimbal. And then of course this gimbal does come with some other features built into the box. So you've got an extension arm which you can add to this gimbal to make this double the height. This is really awesome because you can get some really awesome craning or jib shots with this. And this also comes with a second handle in the accessories box, which means rather than holding the gimbal in front of you with two hands, you can put one hand on the gimbal, one hand on the controller, and you just feel a little bit more in control of the gimbal. And then lastly, I'm going to talk all about the Hyperlink controller. Now the Hyperlink controller, like the title implies, is a controller for the gimbal. So on the Hyperlink controller, you've got a monitor, you've got a joystick, you've got another function wheel, you've got a record button, and you can adjust all of the basic settings of the gimbal through the controller. And the really awesome thing is the controller is wireless. The wireless function is really awesome because it means if you get a second monitor for your camera, then you can technically adjust the focus wirelessly. But the really awesome thing with this controller is the mimic feature. So essentially when you set this up correctly, you just tilt the mimic controller forward and the entire gimbal tilts forward. When you pull it back up, it tilts back up. and wherever you move this controller to, the camera gimbal will follow the same movements. Now, the problem is there is a little bit of a delay on this, which makes it a little bit difficult to use, so you would have to spend some time practicing. Now, the problem is I'm basically a single shooter. I don't really have the luxury of having a team with me and having multiple people operating the camera, so having a controller for a second person is pretty pointless for me because I shoot everything on my own. It's a really awesome feature, and if you need it, then it's a great feature for you, but that was something I just don't really need, but I still love the idea and I love the execution. Now, this video has been pretty long and I'm pretty sure I've covered everything that I wanted to talk about, but if I missed anything out, then please do go and research this gimbal, go and have a look at all of its features, because it is really awesome, and once you've got this set up correctly and you've got it balanced and fine-tuned, you can get some really beautiful cinematic shots with this piece of filmmaking equipment. Now, I'd just like to say a very quick thank you to FeiyuTech for sending me this gimbal. This isn't a sponsored video, but FeiyuTech did send me this camera gimbal to test and play with. I really do appreciate the opportunity to have a look with and play with this camera equipment. I'm a gigantic camera nerd and I love absolutely anything camera related, so it was an absolute honor being able to play with this equipment. Now, I know this video isn't for everyone. I do a lot of editing tutorials, and that's probably what most of you are probably coming to this channel for, but filmmaking and the equipment that we use to make videos is a really important part of the filmmaking process. So I do like to give my opinion on the kit that I use and some other filmmaking equipment that can help to make your job as a filmmaker easier. So if you feel like this video helped you make the decision on whether you should get this gimbal or not, or if you just enjoyed this video, then please do consider subscribing to this channel. I upload a brand new video every single weekday, and the best way to stay updated on everything that I post is to press that subscribe button. So again, thank you for watching this video, and I will see you tomorrow for another brand new video. See you there.